In the hospitality industry, every opportunity to enhance guest experience and drive revenue matters. Yet, did you know that unbooked spa services are quietly draining billions from hotel revenues every year? Introducing TripFusion by VacayU, our revolutionary technology that packages spa and wellness services into a single booking journey. Say goodbye to multiple booking processes and hello to one seamless checkout experience. With TripFusion, your hotel can seize lost revenue by upselling and cross-selling additional services during the booking process. This gives hotels the ability to increase RevPOR, streamline operations, and elevate the overall guest experience. Are you ready to revolutionize your hotel's wellness offerings and maximize profitability? Visit TripFusion.com to book your demo now.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Noelle. I'm the editor of Hotel Dive, which is a website and daily newsletter covering hotel news for industry leaders. And we're one of 37 publications at Industry Dive, a business journalism company with 14 million readers. And I am very excited to welcome you all today to the International Luxury Hotel Association's webinar on the future of luxury wellness traveler perspectives. Today's webinar is brought to you by TripFusion by VacayU. And now I'd like to give all of our speakers just a quick moment to introduce ourselves. First up, we have Scott Colee, Chief Marketing Officer at Noble House.
Good morning, good afternoon. Scott Colee with Noble House Hotels. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here, board member. Pleasure to be on this panel today. Thank you.
Great. Next up, we have Muirelle Montecalvo, founder and CEO of TripFusion by VacayU.
Hi, my name is Muirelle Montecalvo, and I appreciate, excited to be here today. And I'm the founder and CEO of VacayU and recently launched TripFusion.
Wonderful. And finally, we have Meaghan Carlson, Vice President of Brand and Marketing at Sensei.
Hi, yeah, excited to be here. So Sensei is a luxury wellness hospitality company. We're really focused on bringing evidence-led, healthier lifestyle practices to our guests in inspiring five-star environments. We have a property in Hawaii, Lanai, in partnership with Four Seasons, and a new property that has recently opened in Palm Springs called Sensei Porcupine Creek.
Great. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's dive into today's discussion. The first question that I'm excited to ask you all is, how has the wellness traveler evolved in the luxury hotel space? And what are the key factors driving this change?
Sure, I can jump in on that one. So I would say in general, we're definitely seeing that the wellness traveler has evolved a lot, especially in recent years. And I think that a key factor in this is how the industry has really, matured as a whole. Wellness as an industry has grown. I think we've all seen, the stats from Global Wellness Institute. It's not just within the travel sector, but, you can't really walk down the street without seeing a reformer Pilates studio, yoga studio, an acupuncture clinic. And so I think with that, the profile of the wellness traveler has really transformed, right? And I think this has helped the size of the wellness travel group increase at large. I think this is happening kind of at the same time as you see luxury wellness sector really coming into its own. And I think, well, a decade ago or so, you would, definitely see five-star resorts with, a beautiful gym and award-winning restaurant. They probably had a spa. You also had destination spas on the opposite end, but, maybe a little bit more rustic, right? And so I think the idea that all of these are coming together, under one roof today, definitely is, an exciting trend and an exciting evolution. And, hey, you're seeing not just luxury wellness providers expanding this, but luxury wellness hoteliers at large, right? And maybe today the basement, isn't in the spa, but maybe it's even getting, kind of more beachfront real estate. And I think that really, speaks to the sector at large.
Absolutely. I think post-pandemic mental health was certainly on top of everyone's mind. And I think it still is. And I think wellness has transcended beyond just exercise and appearance. It's kind of encompassing your overall well-being. I think there's a holistic approach to wellness now. And we're seeing people seeking experiences that nourish their mind, body, and spirit. It's a holistic approach. There is one new development I think we're seeing is solo travel. We're seeing primarily among women, we're seeing a lot of women traveling alone, however, in groups. So with other people who are also traveling alone. That seems to be a trend that's has evolved.
And one of the things that I think we've seen, I mean, obviously having a wellness travel website, I mean, we've seen a lot. We've just seen a huge amount of growth, right? I mean, when 5-6 years ago when we started, or actually right before COVID, I guess, when we started, there was very little understanding, especially in the US, as to what really wellness travel was. And I think, you know, what we've seen now is that through the like 69% of the luxury travelers kind of prefer to book their trip in advance, I think now. And you know, and I guess it aligns with what the wellness travelers are expecting. Like, you know, I think recently at a Skift thing, Chris from Equinox Hotels said that wellness was kind of the new luxury. And I think the growing demand is also coming from the recognition of the importance of the holistic experiences and, you know, wanting to include more around the stress reduction, mindfulness, fitness, and nutrition, and they're taking it from their regular lifestyle and they want to incorporate it into the way they travel as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to talk more about the generational and demographic shifts we've seen among wellness travelers. I wondered if you all could speak to how those generational and demographic shifts impact the wellness travelers' booking decisions or overall journey.
Yeah, sure. I think, you know, from very early on at Sensei, I kind of had it drilled into me that, you know, the typical profile for a wellness traveler is going to be, you know, a female, maybe, you know, in her 50s plus. And I think we really haven't, you know, seen that at Sensei. Sure, we're seeing that, you know, solo traveler and also them traveling in groups like Scott mentioned. But our audience is, you know, much more younger and more diverse than we had expected. Every time I'm pulling, you know, the web data for Sensei, it's almost like an even 20% split, 20s through 60s, which I think is, you know, really astounding. So as such, you know, each time we're creating a new package or a new experience, we want to make sure that we, you know, that it's going to be dynamic to be able to meet our guests at all those various life stages. I think the other thing, you know, that's really happening in terms of the shift of the guest booking decision and journey is really, you know, how they're finding travel inspiration. It's so different than it was, you know, 5, 10, you know, 15 years ago. I think, you know, over a decade ago, sure, you know, there was Facebook, but you weren't getting on social media in the morning and seeing, you know, a friend or a content creator literally give you a bedroom tour of the hotel that they are in Paris, right? Maybe before, you know, 10 years ago, they would post a picture in Paris, it'd be them at the Eiffel Tower. You would think, wow, that looks like an amazing trip, but I have, you know, no idea what else they did. And I think whereas today with the proliferation of social media, content creators, our own social communities, people are much more apt to share their whole travel experiences, which I think makes it that much more approachable for a guest who traditionally may not be interested or maybe didn't think they were interested in a wellness experience. When they see their friends, when they see people going to yoga retreats, maybe going to hiking retreats, it may make them, you know, really reconsider. And I think that's really a huge win for the industry at large, and helps kind of, you know, broaden the awareness and the exposure for the different types of wellness travel that there are that can help guests meet their goals.
So I'd like to actually elaborate on that. That's because it's kind of interesting that you brought up the social media part, because I mean, one of the things for me, and this was back in probably 2018, 2019, I was actually on social media. I'm one of those ones that was looking for it, right? And I found the most amazing like wellness resort in France. And I couldn't figure out what it was, but I was determined to figure out what it was. And I ended up traveling to that particular resort because of an actually an Instagram video. But I do think what's happening in the kind of the generational shift is they're expecting more also in the way they book it as well, right? So they're expecting more in the way that they, our younger generation necessarily wants to be able to do it all online. They want less, of the picking up the phone or calling the hotels or making, they want to be able to book that experience through, they're just, they're just like that Gen Z. They're just like, everything has to be online, less contact, even though that's not necessarily the best thing that we all want, right? But it is the way that they are booking a little bit more now. And they want to be able to personalize that experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Gen Z and millennials are our current target. Certainly Zoom fatigue is playing into it, and we're seeing that people are really interested in collecting experiences, not things. So we try to create a seamless booking experience for, getting outside, disconnecting, unplugging. We're seeing kind of a trend towards eco retreats, glamping, the kind of not exactly roughing it approach to hospitality, and allowing guests to escape their daily routines. And we're trying to make that as easy as possible through the booking process.
Yeah, great. My next question for you all is, how can luxury hotels incorporate experiential elements into these wellness-focused stays? And what is the potential ROI on having such an initiative?
Well, maybe I can start with that one. So one of the things that part of the reason that we developed TripFusion is we started figuring out that, it was challenging for these guests to book that experience online, right? It was a very disconnected situation in a lot of the properties. There was a lot of the phone calls back and forth, the emails exchanging and stuff like that. And that was what we really wanted to be able to highlight through building those experiences and being able to differentiate them through, being able to book it specifically online. And I kind of feel like that's really kind of what a lot of these younger generations are looking for, is something that's more simple, that they can just go to a site, pick out their different experiences. Maybe they're a package that's, something like that. But that was kind of where we felt like it's a stronger ROI for the hotel if they have a lot of that booked up front as well, which I think is interesting. And, just being able to pick their own, maybe it's a personalized journey, maybe it's a non-personalized journey, maybe it's more of a packaging journey. But I do think that's an important part of the way that the hotels can get a better ROI on it as well, because they know how to staff accordingly and things of that nature.
Yeah, so I think pre-arrival communications is key, right? It's understanding what the guest is looking for before they arrive, so that you're setting up the experiences for them, and you're anticipating their needs, and as much information as you can collect on the forefront, then you're allowing them to go to the various outlets and spend money there. And I think it benefits both the guests and the hotel, right, that they're optimizing their experience. And so you need to collect that information ahead of time.
Yeah, I think at Sensei, I mean, experiential elements are definitely core to our secret sauce. We kind of say we aren't necessarily in the business of selling hotel beds. We really want to, sell longer, life well-being. And ideally, the way that we do that is by, getting guests to commit to a package or a program up front. So I think this is something, depending whether you're a large or a small independent, being able to create wellness offers, things like, spa credits, maybe a healthy eating meal plan, or, maybe you want to go much more structured, like Sensei's approach, where, you've got 3 and 5 nights and, sabbatical stays with a set number of inclusions. But it's the ROI is really inherent in these, because, you know, whether you're here to, you know, kind of optimize fitness or maybe improve your nutrition, it comes through in the pre-booking of the experiences. And every single time we pull the data, you know, we know that, I mean, we sell both room only, where guests can kind of purchase services, you know, once they get there, and then packages with set inclusions. But every single time we look at the data, those guests that are purchasing the package up front, that are coming with that intention to, you know, kind of really think through that goal ahead of time, we're definitely seeing higher spend on property, as a result of that intention.
Yeah, so let's talk about the guest experience. I would love to know, in what ways is technology being used to enhance the guest experience in the luxury hotel industry, especially in the context of wellness travelers?
So I'll start with that one. I think Airbnb was really a pioneer in terms of offering localized experiences with, you know, with their technology. And we're working with a company called Way, who does a similar thing, and it's in the hospitality space. And so what they do is identify hosts within every community. So this goes above and beyond the local, the employees at the hotel. It connects with people in every community. And then we work with them to identify appropriate experiences to load to the site, to then create that seamless buying experience where you can go and book directly with those hosts. And we're seeing, you know, some good progress there. We think it's a great portal to the community. And it still has a way to go, but it's a fun new trend in technology.
Well, I'd like to jump in on that a little bit too, because I mean, you mentioned the spa credits, Meaghan, when you, and one of the great things about what we've done, with TripFusion is we've able to take it a step further than just the spa credits, to where the guests can actually book their, experience and that actual spa appointment in real time during the booking journey. So that it's not necessarily a spa credit per se, but more of a, I can actually book the appointment I want at the time I want and stuff like that. So then I can work in my forest bathing walk during the thing. And then obviously, to Scott's point, add on the different things as they get there, and the experiences maybe that are associated specifically with the property. And I know in a lot of the wellness resorts, such as yours, they're very personalized experiences sometimes as well. So you obviously want to work with a specific, you know, like whether it's a doctor or a certain person at the, you know, that really helps to personalize the experience. But I think the goal is, as much as you can get in the initial part of it as well, is pretty important, to your point about the packaging and things of that up front, right? So, and so that's just kind of just some of my thoughts around that. You know, the more you can get up front, the more you can staff effectively, the more you can, you know, figure out some of those pieces. And then obviously some of the additional add-ons as well, you know, create the bigger ROI for the hotels as well when they get there. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, honestly, the technology, it all comes down to the personalization of the guest experience. That's a core part of our DNA at Sensei. We're, you know, and we've really invested in proprietary technology on the back end that helps us enable that. So I think for us, it's, you know, no two itineraries are the same. We send guests a dynamic digital pre-arrival questionnaire before they come, to really understand what their lifestyle habits are at home. And even if they both sign up for the 5-night rest and recovery program, we are going to tailor that itinerary. You know, if an executive's coming, they're going to be working maybe more on managing stress versus a new mom who is at a different life stage, right? And maybe trying to reclaim restorative sleep. So our technology on the back end enables us to really personalize that itinerary, because we've collected all of that data up front. And I think the thing that is maybe a little bit different in how we approach it is, it's not just, you know, manifesting itself during the stay. The guest experience at Sensei, you know, really starts, you know, 30 days pre-arrival. You know, for some of our packages, we're mailing Whoop wearable devices so they can start tracking their vitals. And then for our 5-night packages, we also offer virtual guide support after they go home. So we know that the guest wants to kind of continue on that wellness journey. If they make a great connection with one of the practitioners on staff, we build that into the core inclusion so they can kind of check in, because obviously everything might be working in this perfect, 5-star Hawaiian mountain retreat. But once you get home and there's kids and there's jobs and, other things getting in the way, we really aim to be there to kind of support and help them make tweaks and give them tools to continue on that journey.
And there's so many different things that you can do from the technology standpoint now, like the virtual reality of it, right? Or or to your point, the wearable devices, or taking home, and next thing we know now, what the newest thing, Apple, what's going to come through, those experiences and, things of that nature. I think there's so much potential with it. Mm-hmm. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, and thank you, Meaghan, for bringing up personalization, because I would love to ask Muirgheal and Scott too about personalization, and I'm particularly interested in knowing how can personalization go beyond a luxury park and become an essential part of the guest experience in today's hospitality landscape, and also then what ROI can hotels expect from having these sort of personalized services or programming?
Muirelle, you want to go
let
first?
Scott start because he's the hotel guy.
Well, so thinking about just experiential travel in the luxury sector and how important that is. I mean, I look at examples that we are doing, and I think we're seeing people wanting these 2 to 3 day immersive experiences, like spiritual retreat seems to be trending. But to give specific examples, Little Palm Island will do dining with the chef and chef's dinners. Kona Kai in San Diego, we're seeing that yoga continues to be a big trend for club members. At Estancia in La Jolla, San Diego, we're running something called Self-Care Sunday, which is, seems to be really doing well. We're also seeing another trend. This is at Jekyll Island, which is in Georgia. Meditation being a key thing for groups. Not just for individuals, but we're seeing groups interested in these kinds of experiences. And for us, and we're an independent hotel chain. We don't have a loyalty program. So for us, creating these kinds of personalized experiences that that guests can really get excited about, and we feel that that's a great way to create a return customer, and that's where we see the return is the repeat business. As long as we've captured that person's interest, and we'll get them to come back again. And that's how we see the return on that.
And well, I guess from looking at it from like more of the bringing the guests to people like you, right? So from, just understanding the guest preferences, I think is really important. And, getting the data on, what to help them customize a stay, which I think goes to what Meaghan was talking about, sending out something in advance, or, when you're booking that stay, getting as much data out of them as you can, what are they looking for in that booking journey, right? Because that then helps you to really understand how can I personalize that experience when they get here, if I have some of that data up front. And I think a lot of the with the younger generation, to what you said earlier, they want less things and more, experiences. I think, that's a big part of it. And so the more we can understand about that guest before they come to a resort from a wellness experience, or maybe they've gone through the booking journey, but they didn't actually book, but you get that information out of them, then you're able to retarget them a little bit on knowing a little bit more about what that journey could look like from a personalization standpoint. So, and then target it specifically to, for me, I love forest bathing, right? So you talk about going out in the middle of nowhere, and I mean, just walking through the woods, that's a great way to disconnect. preferably without my phone would be a good thing, but but the further away from things that don't have cellular towers, the better. But at the same time, I think all of that data comes very much into play from the standpoint of understanding the guest and what they're looking for ahead of time.
Yeah, and let's talk more about data. I that's a great transition because I want to ask, what role does data play in understanding and catering to wellness travelers' unique needs and preferences?
Sure, I can start us off on that one. I think data obviously plays a huge role. It's kind of the backbone of being able to anticipate a guest's need. And I think if you kind of think back in time, obviously there's many luxury hoteliers that have been doing this really well for a long time. You know, Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, you know, all the great ones. They know your favorite dessert. They know the bottle of wine that you're going to order. They know the pillow that you would like, and, you know, kind of how you want your room set up. However, you know, oftentimes you show up at the spa, you know, at a luxury hotel, and you're still filling out, you know, a form maybe about your limitations. So I think Sensei, from the beginning, we really set out on this journey with the goal to bring that same level of personalization that guests had come to expect within the luxury sector to the wellness services. So we have built technology that allows our practitioners to really be communicating amongst each other on the back end, and, you know, helping to kind of draw that common thread through the guest stay. So, you know, we have exercise physiologists on staff. When they do a fitness one-on-one with the guest and, you know, maybe find a mobility issue in a knee, if that same guest goes to yoga, you know, a few hours later, the guest shouldn't have to repeat itself, you know, themselves about that injury that was just discovered. Our team, you know, should be communicating, and, you know, even at independence where maybe there isn't a software put in place, you know, you can never, you know, overestimate the importance of just, you know, giving your team that time to kind of connect throughout the day and make sure that, you know, they're briefing each other appropriately. So ultimately at Sensei, we're really trying to marry that level of personalization that luxury travelers have come to expect and introduce that same ability to be able to anticipate their needs and wants as it relates to wellness services. And, you know, the way that you do that is through data.
We encourage the hotels to gather as much information as possible for each guest profile. And so, you know, there's the very broad topic of just, you know, male, female, age group, et cetera, household income. But if you can, you know, start to really identify their personal tastes and things that they appreciate, especially for repeat customers, you know, what room did they stay in the last time? You know, what drink do they like at the bar? What spa treatment do they prefer? I mean, the more that we can collect on people's interests and tastes, and then you continue to tailor the experience towards that, goes a really long way in terms of just guest satisfaction. And that's where we like to kind of lean into on the I guess on the data front, is just understanding what people like and what they want.
Yeah, I mean, Scott, I couldn't agree more on the repeat side. And I think with repeat guests, but I feel like wellness, it even has to go a step further, right? Because, you know, obviously in luxury, maybe your preferences aren't going to be changing that much. But I think when it comes to well-being, we all know it's a journey. It's not a destination. So it kind of keeps us all on our toes even more to be able to kind of anticipate, okay, last time maybe they were working towards this. How have they, you know, shifted or kind of grown in their goal since we last saw them? And I think that all comes through building a meaningful connection with the guest and building that relationship on a deeper level.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, just to elaborate on that, I think everybody's version of wellness is different, right? So you really have to think about all of these things when you're really tailoring that information for that guest, right? So, I mean, for example, you know, some people may be really into fitness, another person might be into hiking, and that's their version of wellness. Or maybe it is a spa junkie like me or something like that. But and I actually like to hike quite a bit and work out as well. And I know there are hotels that are opening that are more focused on the fitness side of things as well. And But, you know, I think technology brings a lot towards it, but it is a very high touch journey. You know, especially when you're specializing in different places like Canyon Ranch and Sensei, like you guys, and you know, and really just kind of tailoring different types of packages towards that guest, but then having the flexibility to add more into it. But the more you can get up front, I think, in the initial information, I think really helps to tailor that ahead of time.
Absolutely. So, you know, wellness travel is already extremely popular and it's also still growing. So I want to ask you all about the future of wellness travel. As we look ahead, what emerging trends do you see in the luxury hotel industry when it comes to wellness travel? And how can hotels stay ahead of the curve while driving revenue?
I mean, I just see this, you know, this continued desire to kind of these bucket lists, kind of over the top, kind of going off grid, unplugged technology, demand, and some people going far and wide for these over the top experiences. And so how do we cater to that? And to the degree that we can. I mean, adventure is relative, right? Some people see it very differently, and I think you do need to create a range of sort of these kind of wellness, or what I would call wellness experiences. I think sustainability is becoming more and more important. I think we need to continue to lean into that. I do think some sort of give back component, I think, is critical. More recently, we're seeing a desire to give back as a form of wellness, opting for eco-friendly, sustainable, and culturally immersive experiences, cleaning the beach, restoring the reef, for example. Somehow a level of sustainability makes guests feel like they're contributing somehow, you know, while they're on vacation. I don't know, just to give some other more specific examples. I'm seeing the hot and sauna and cold plunge seem to be the hot topic these days. Everybody wants that. And then Meaghan, you brought up fitness centers. I think, you know, a real focus on, you know, providing the correct equipment, making sure it's not in the basement somewhere. I mean, I think that's become more and more important, that it needs to be kind of front and center. People are really are wanting that. And I think we're going to continue to make sure that that's a priority in terms of when we're looking forward and developing new properties and paying attention to it.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I feel like we're seeing a lot of the same trends, Scott. The other emerging trend, I wouldn't say it's new. I think we've all been hearing a lot about it for the last couple of years, but kind of more in the sleep tourism and that kind of ecosystem. And I think the way at Sensei this manifests is kind of our 5-night rest and recovery program. I think, you know, those hoteliers and luxury wellness retreats that are really building, you know, programs with substance around sleep. You know, for us, guests sit down with a mindset practitioner for, you know, about an hour and a half, and it's really tailored, right? If you're someone who needs to optimize your energy function, you know, we're going to be diving into that, maybe even looking at, you know, the nutrition that's going to complement a restorative sleep. Other people might be, you know, more focused on kind of reclaiming a more restful bedtime routine. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, this is, you know, it's not a new topic. And even the luxury hoteliers are, you know, doing a lot when it comes to kind of room design. I just get really excited when I see the programs that, you know, have a little bit more substance than just maybe an essential oil by the bed or you know, a face mask. But how do we holistically support them in kind of reclaiming that more restorative sleep? I totally agree with what you were saying, Scott, about just kind of this endorphin seeking wellness. I think everyone, you know, and this is probably especially coming out of the pandemic, like people don't want to wait to take those bucket list trips anymore. And so the passions that we have in our everyday life, be it, you know, surfing, skiing, hiking, like people are willing and excited to travel far and wide. And I think in some ways it's almost just getting, you know, rebranded as wellness. But but it's, you know, it's always been there, and maybe it's getting, you know, leveled up in luxury experiences. Like, you know, I mean, I see 11 doing amazing things. And then I think the other piece, which isn't new, but is kind of important for, you know, us in the wellness landscape to consider, is just really the natural wonders and kind of more cultural enrichment. Obviously, we know that, you know, people, when they travel to destinations, they want to, you know, connect with the local community. They want to really see what, you know, makes this place special. To a certain extent, they want to support that local economy, you know, with their wallets. And so I think it's really about, you know, how do you then tailor wellness experiences that are really based on that sense of place. So, I mean, that can be as simple as, you know, on the spa menu, if you're in Hawaii, like, okay, let's have some lomi lomi. Let's bring in, you know, Hawaiian body walker practitioners. Maybe we're going to have a marine body wrap. And I think, you know, luxury hoteliers have been, you know, doing a great job at this for, you know, a long time. But how do we in wellness kind of push ourselves further to integrate with those local communities and be able to provide that same unforgettable experience?
And then just kind of to, I mean, some of the things, I mean, just to elaborate on that, I think you're right on the respect of like taking care of the local cultures and incorporate, like maybe it's a Mayan mud, you know, experience if you're down in Mexico or something along those lines. But I do think some of the trends right now, especially, is more integration of the emotional and mental health well-being coming also out of the pandemic and stuff. And I think there are ways that you can do that by the luxury hotels could like incorporate more on the mental wellness in their offerings and things of that nature. And you know, guided meditation sessions or workshops on well-being or things of spaces for tranquility and meditation, whether it's out in the woods or, you know, or taking a hike that, you know, that some of the luxury hotels could add more of that into that part of it. And I think that's just because when we're seeing a lot of this mental, you know, thing, this or mental health, that's another way to really incorporate some of that into some of the trends that are coming. And then the hyper personalized wellness journeys that I think we've talked about quite a bit today, you know, just as much as you can get to really help them or help your wellness traveler to really experience something that's more personalized to them when they're in the resorts. Yeah, so I think those are some of the trends that are coming, and I think they're continuing to and try to keep it away from the wellness washing side of it and really more of the wellness, you know, experience, right? So, you know, to make sure that it's a true wellness experience that you're having when you come to the properties. So
Yeah.
oh, and I think there's something else that we really didn't touch on today, and that's more of the leisure traveler, right? And I think, Scott, you mentioned this when we were talking earlier this week, but I think, you know, a lot of the hotels are seeing the travelers come in, but they're looking for ways to incorporate it into their lifestyle. They're bringing their lifestyle with them when they go on the corporate trip, on their corporate business trips. And if there's a way to bring more of that into, you know, whether it's a yoga class in the morning or different things that they can do while they're on the property, and they're extending it because they don't want to wait till later in their lives to take those trips. Now they're like, let's get this, you know, I'm here. I want to experience it. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, the business traveler is their needs have changed a bit, you know, where they may have used to come in for a power lunch, right? Fly in, fly out. Instead, it's you know, I'm gonna stay here for longer and I'm gonna work while I'm enjoying being away. And then on the groups of the business, on the group side of that, you're seeing less demand from the group side. But they're coming less frequently, but when they do come, they stay for longer, right? Because they're gathering in their teams together who've been working remote. So you're seeing less business on the group side, but when they come, they stay longer. So actually, when you add it all up, it's actually kind of a net neutral. So it's interesting to see that whole thing play out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I feel like it kind of wraps up this discussion really nicely too. I mean, we were talking all about demographic shifts and I think with those business travelers, as you're calling them, I mean, we see tons and more male often these days. I mean, we're getting, you know, some of our best repeat guests are, you know, kind of business executives that are coming. I mean, some of these people are staying 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time, and they're kind of, you know, they're working remote within our wellness retreat environment. So we've actually built, you know, even sabbatical packages to be able to tailor to them, add more early morning classes so they can kind of get in that yoga, get in that meditation, and then have a consistent touch point with, you know, an exercise physiologist or a nutritionist throughout the week. I think yeah, it's really fascinating to see kind of all these different worlds converging.
Absolutely.
I agree. And one of the things about, you know, the TripFusion technology and why we developed it was to be able to help some of those travelers when they're booking their experiences. They get the opportunity to book some of those spa appointments within the time, you know, the time frames that they want them, rather than trying to get there and then get them at the last minute, right? So, and that's an what's the right word for it there? That's an advantage, because then the hotel kind of knows that these leisure travelers need their spa appointment at 8 o'clock in the morning before they go to those business meetings, right? Or whatever the case may be. And you can staff accordingly for things like that. So, but yeah, so yeah.
Right. Thank you all so much. This has been such a great discussion. And I want to thank all three of you again for taking the time to come here and give your insights. This has been really illuminating. Yeah, to close out, I also want to thank the viewers of this webinar for joining in on the International Luxury Hotel Association's webinar series. And if you found the webinar valuable, please share the recording, and past webinars are also available on ILHA's website, which is the ILHA.com under events. Thank you so much.